Merry Christmas, everyone. The Christmas season is officially upon us, and to celebrate, today I am going to be doing the Joy of Christmas book tag. I'm really excited to get into this. Christmas is a very special time to me, and also being a holiday reader, I'm going to be reading many Christmas books this month. But for the moment, let's celebrate books through the tag that is to do with the joy of Christmas. Prompt number 1, anticipation. Which book new release are you most anticipating? Well, I actually have a whole video that I did on this, my most anticipated new releases for 2020, so I'll leave that in the comments section below. But my most anticipated book releases, I have two. The first one is Skyward book number 3 in that series, so that is so far the solitary book that Brandon Sanderson will be releasing in 2021, and he is my favorite author of the year, so I'm excited about that. But one that always comes to mind when people ask me which new release I'm most excited about would have to be this book, As Far As You'll Take Me by Phil Stamper. The book behind me is The Gravity of Us. I absolutely loved it. It was Phil Stamper's debut novel, a male romance that is set around an astronaut training academy where both boys' fathers are doing an internship and they meet while they are there. It is an amazing book for so many reasons. It moves beyond just being a romance and also deals with some really hard-hitting contemporary topics. I grew to 100% trust Phil Stamper just by reading this book, so I am going into this book completely blind, and I'm really excited. So more Phil Stamper, yay! Prompt number 2, Christmas songs and carols. What book or books can you not help but sing their praises? I have 5, so I'm going to go through them as briefly as I can. First up, History's All You Left Me by Adam Silvera. This is also, like The Gravity of Us, a male romance, an LGBTIQ plus contemporary book that deals with, again, like The Gravity of Us, very hard contemporary topics. We are dealing with grief, loss, as well as an overwhelming sense of anxiety, like clinical anxiety. And Adam Silvera just did really well with this book. I sing the praises of this book for many reasons. The first reason is because it is own voices. To then be able to turn that around and start writing these hard-hitting male romance contemporaries that are so real and so raw is just, oh my gosh. The Guest List by Lucy Foley. This is an adult mystery thriller. I've read a number of mystery thrillers this year that have disappointed me and certainly let me down. This book definitely did not do that. I really enjoyed myself with this book. It is a multi-perspective, so we are alternating chapters with, I believe, 4 or 5 different characters. This book is set at a wedding reception where murders are taking place, and yeah, everyone who went to the reception arrived alive. Not everyone's going to leave that way. The reveal of this book was so good that I will, if you're looking for a thriller slash mystery and you haven't read this book, I highly recommend this one. Letters to the Lost by Bridget Kemmerer. This is a YA contemporary novel. I highly recommend this book. Again, this book deals with very tough contemporary topics, so please do keep that in mind. But Bridget Kemmerer, an amazing author. The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson has a taggy because it's the last book I'm going to read this year as a reread. That's how much of an impact it had on me. This book, I will sing its praises to the hilltops because this book revolutionized reading for me way back in February of this year. Yeah, it's amazing. Highly recommend. And finally, the final book I want to sing the praises of is Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. This is the second book in the Stormlight Archives. I have to remember what the name was. This book took me through every single emotion you can think of. Happiness, sadness, joy, laughter, anger, you name it. I experienced it in this book and I absolutely loved it. Prompt number 3, Gingerbread House. What book had amazing world building? Any of the dystopians that I've read this year, particularly book number 1, because they are dystopians, it's kind of, and well, I feel, based on what I've read, I feel it's an unwritten rule that with book number one, you really need to go about showing us this world that you have and why it is a dystopian. We need to get into the nitty gritty. We need to understand what has caused such disharmony, discord, and discontent to make it a dystopian. So I'm going to show some dystopians that had amazing world building. This is the selection by Kiera Cass. The Hunger Games by Susan Collins. The Siren by Kiera Cass. Divergent. High praise to all of these authors. Prompt number 4, A Christmas Carol, a classic book that you absolutely loved or that you really want to get into. Funny story, my answer to this is the prompt itself, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. It's really interesting because I didn't look at the actual prompt, I just looked at the question and I picked up this book. I have not read this book yet, but I am planning on reading it next week. I'm really intrigued to read this book because while I know the story, I've never actually read the classic version. Something I plan to do in 2021 is to read more classics because I have not completed any classics this year, and this will be my one and only. So this book I'm definitely looking forward to reading because I love the idea of the story. Prompt number 5 is Christmas Sweets. What book would you love to receive for Christmas? I have two. First up, The Count of Monte Cristo. As I said, I really want to read classic books next year, and this book sounds amazing. The second book that I would love to receive for Christmas is a book called The Phantom of the Opera. I have grown up listening to the songs. I tried to watch the movie that they made, but it just made no sense to me. But I feel like if I consume it as a book, it will finally make sense and I'll understand where the song The Phantom of the Opera comes in and why it's there. Prompt number 6, Candle in the Window. What book gives you that warm, fuzzy feeling? And, okay, I'm going to premise this by saying it's funny that this kind of question came up because a couple of months ago I was talking to my mother who I recently did a video with, and we were discussing how she likes getting into audiobooks and reading them, and she was asking me if I had any warm fuzzies that I could recommend to her, and I could only think of one, which is so really sad. I should read more warm fuzzies. I have a plan next year as part of my classics to read this book, Winnie the Pooh, by A. Milne. This is the original classic version, so I'm incredibly excited to read this. I'm sure this is going to be very, very warm fuzzy, but also this book right up here is my one warm fuzzy. And P.S. I gave the audio copy of this book to my mum, and she did not like it. So I said, sorry, Mum, I can't help you out with warm fuzzies. Because a lot of mine are very hard-hitting, whether they're fantasy or contemporary or horror or whatever it is, they're very hard-hitting. But this book is definitely a warm fuzzy. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. I read this book when it first came out all those years ago, and have had many, many rereads of not only this book, but the entire series, which I have them all here, including Cursed Child. I have every single one there. And the entire series fills my heart with a ton of warmth. Prompt number 7, Christmas tree decorations. What book covers do you love? Okay, so I'm going to quickly go through Kiera Cass because I love all of her covers. I just think the gowns that her protagonists wear are just really beautiful. So we have book 1, the selection series, book 2, book 3, book 4, and book 5. They're just beautiful. And then the Siren as well. Whoever gets to do the cover shoots for any of Cass's books, that must be a fun day. Okay, I also love this book, Rebecca. I'm going to be reading this next year as one of my classics. This is an 80th anniversary edition, and I'm not generally a fan of white books, but I love the detail in the etching. I just think that's really beautiful. And finally, the American version, because I don't like the UK version, so the US edition of Calamity, book 3 in the Steelheart, the Reckoner series by Brandon Sanson. I love the colour. It's purple and shimmery, and it's just, gorgeous. And finally, question number 8, Christmas joy. Some memories that you have or favorite moments of Christmas in general. Oh my gosh, I have so many. Waking up Christmas morning and making hot chocolate and taking out the homemade shortbread that we'd made leading up to Christmas, and having hot chocolate and shortbread while opening Christmas presents is always a wonderful tradition that I love. A really big one that I love is watching carols by candlelight. So over in Australia, on for those of you who are Australian, Channel 9, we have a show called Carols by Candlelight, and every single year from I think about 7:30 or so at night through to close on midnight, there is a concert that takes place in Melbourne, broadcast on TV here, which is Carols by Candlelight, and we have a whole host of celebrity names who will come on and sing carols, and there are 3 performers or 4 now that I think of it, that come back each and every year that I absolutely love, or actually 5, so I'll quickly name them. Sylvie Palladino, Marina Pryor, Dennis Walter, David Hobson, and the ambassador of Vision Australia, who are the charity that we focus on that night, is Anthony Kalia. So Vision Australia is, just quickly, is a charity that supports those who are vision impaired, and during the night you can donate to this wonderful charity. But it is just a really beautiful night, and Christmas to me is not Christmas until specifically I hear Marina Pryor sing Angels We Have Heard on High. So if you ever hear that song, think of me. That's when I think it's Christmas time. But just spending time with family and loved ones. It may sound corny, it may sound, like a overstated cliche, but I just think it's beautiful how, whether it's seen as an obligation or not, to be able to catch up with family and spend time with family during Christmas, whether it's an excuse or not, it's great to be able to sit around the family, whether it's on my mum's side or my dad's side. But that is it. That is the Joy of Christmas tag. So I'm going to leave that there and let you guys go. Peace, blessings, and so much love. I post videos every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. Thank you so much for watching, and Merry Christmas!
He whose birth the angels sing.